DSIP, I love. It's one of my new favorite peptides. Medications like Ambien, melatonin basically knock you out, but DSIP helps to organize your sleep so that your sleep cycles are more productive.
Yeah, no, I think PT141 used to be my favorite peptide, and now I've changed my mind that DSIP is it. I mean, it regulated my sleep cycle, and I was waking up profoundly more rested. I would to the point where I was able to get off of sleeping medication completely. Welcome to the show. We're gonna have some fun conversations today, but before we get started, let's talk a little about what's going on in our lives.
Well, happy gut, happy butt.
Okay.
That's the theme of what we're talking about today.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what's going on in my life. I'm excited because next month I'm getting married. Mm-hmm. So that's exciting.
That's very exciting.
Let's see. I just finished a round of SS31 and Motzi.
Yeah, how did you like that?
Honestly, I felt like I didn't feel a whole lot. Mm-hmm. Like when you take an AD, you feel something.
Yeah.
You feel energetic, for lack of a better term.
But I always tell you this, I think that it's because your baseline health level is already so high and so optimal that when you do therapies, you don't feel them as significantly as some other people do because it's not fixing a lot of the silent assassins that are making your body dysfunction.
That might be true, but we know what the research is saying on SS31. I think it's actually a FDA-approved drug now, or it's
for cardiovascular health.
Yeah, I think so,
Yeah.
and it has a ton of metabolic benefits. So I felt like it was good to do a round. I may continue to do that. Mm-hmm. We can dive deeper into SS31 later, but Motzi again. Yeah, I don't know. On a cellular level, I know what it's doing, but physiologically, like feeling it, I didn't really have much of an effect. But that's what I do. I mean, we live and breathe, this peptide world. So I guinea pig most of it.
Mm-hmm. So why did you do Motzi and SS31? Because they both have mitochondrial health indications. So why did you do both of them?
Because I can. I'm doing a lot of testing right now, and I'm measuring a lot of those mitochondrial biomarkers, and I've got baselines on that, and I'm going to start introducing these peptides, which I've already done the first cycle, and I'll continue doing more cycles, and then I'm going to do a 1-year follow-up and remeasure those biomarkers and see, how much of an effect of just lifestyle changes that I'm doing. I introduced the hyperbaric chamber, introduced red light therapy, and then of course the peptides. And as we already know, I'm already on a lot of I use hormones, so hormone therapy. And we'll just see what the return on investment is, because usually that's what we want to see, right? We want to see objectively that there's some kind of measurement showing there's an improvement.
Yeah, exactly.
So that'll be really fun. I'll probably do it 6 or 8 months from now.
Well, that's why I'm glad that you brought up I didn't feel something right away, because that's one of the things that we hear from our patients the most, because most peptides or coenzymes, any wellness prescriptions that we do, you have to do a certain amount of rounds in a cycle. So a round might last 6 weeks, and then you need to do a 12-week cycle. So you have to do 2 rounds of it, and then you might off cycle and then come back on it. But it definitely, there's the loading period for peptides. That's a real thing. So I think that, consistency is key when it comes to peptide therapy.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into the first part. So episode 1, let's talk about the gut-brain axis, inflammation, and digestive chaos. So your gut's responsible for 90% of your mood, which explains a lot. And one of the best peptides is BPC157.
Yeah. So in our treatment plans with our patients is what we always put in phase 1. So when they first come to us for treatment, we always put in phase 1, gut health, because if you have an unhealthy gut, and you're big on this, you actually convinced me more of the importance of gut health uh, recently. But then all of the other therapies that we do are not going to work as well and are not going to optimize as well in your body if your gut and your microbiome, especially, is not healthy. And we live in America, so most people's guts are not healthy. So BPC 157 is the perfect little helper for your gut.
Yeah. So let's go over kind of what is BPC 157. So it's a 15 amino acid peptide and derived from body protection compound and natural protein found in gastric juices. And so there's a long list of things that it does. I mean, I'll just quickly go through it. So we're talking about angiogenesis and microvascular repair. Rochelle's always better at kind of boiling it down to what is an effective way of explaining what that means, but you can kind of go through it quickly if you want. What do those words mean?
So did you say them again?
Angiogenesis.
That's the formation of new blood vessels. So all that means is that it is helping. So blood is the vehicle for every function in your body, right? So you need healthy blood vessels and cells in order for every organ and system in your body to function properly. And then it also helps to make sure that your body is not inflamed. So angiogenesis just means formation of new healthy blood vessels.
Right. So you can deliver micronutrients, you can deliver oxygen to the areas in which are inflamed or damaged.
Heal faster, better.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's maybe stop there and talk about why that is kind of a problem and what people are saying about it right now.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of buzz right now, and I think you used the word propaganda, that's demonizing BPC 157 for its angiogenic properties.
Yeah. So there's fear mongering. Mongering? Mongering. There's fear mongering right now with BPC 157. The reason, I don't know. I'm sure that there's, one big system organization that put this out there, but now it's caught fire. And so it's all over the internet about how BPC 157 is dangerous and it can cause all of these side effects and issues. And it can be dangerous if you do not cycle it properly, which is why you come to an actual clinic. And it can be dangerous if you're buying it off the gray market and you have no idea what's in it. But what's even more dangerous is having a ton of inflammation in your system and not addressing it. And BPC 157 does address it. So yes, if you have active cancer, then you're not a candidate for BPC 157. But angiogenesis is a natural thing that happens in your body anyway. BPC 157 is just helping to give it a little boost.
Right. I mean, I don't think there's a lot of human data, but at least in rodent data and models, it's shown that, the new formation of blood vessels is not actually, it actually has anti-tumor effects, and it's only promoting and helping with healthy tissue and not cancerous tissue. So, obviously there are some things that you need to keep in mind and, some boundaries as far as safety measures, especially around tumor formation and cancer, but I don't think we should be afraid of it. And again, the animal models are just showing that it really doesn't do that. It's not causing cancer.
Yeah. And it does have two different indications. So if you take BPC 157 orally, then the primary indication is gut health, right? Helping to regulate the gut, detoxify the gut, uninflame the gut. But if you do it injection wise, you can do a larger dose acute if you have injury, that sort of thing, or you can do systemically a smaller dose. And injection wise, yes, it still is going to help with the gut because it's a peptide derived from your gastric lining, but it's going to primarily target inflammation systemically throughout your system and your body when you do it injectable. So most people, if they have side effects from BPC 157, the most common are just redness, a little bit of swelling at the injection site, And I think now we're seeing a lot of patients where they will have a slight, just superficial injection side effect, and then they will call super worried because of all of the information out there about BPC 157. And they think that that injection site is something bigger is happening when really it's not. But there's alternatives. I mean, yes, if it's done orally, there's way less side effects normally because most common are just injection site.
I would say the thing about injection sites is, I mean, I've been using peptides for, God, 10 years. I always have redness, irritation. It's a little bit painful. It itches, and that's just par for the course. And I may even have bruising too, especially if I'm using it sub-Q in the abdominal region. And so that's something to just expect when you're injecting peptides. Now, if that becomes, extremely painful or enlarges or, is just this chronic issue, then obviously it needs to be addressed and evaluated. Everybody's different, but I would expect those every single time. A little bit of ice might help. There's some things you can do to mitigate that. Icing before, icing a little bit afterwards. I don't think those things are necessary. Your body's naturally just going to kind of resolve that irritation. In short order, less than 24 hours.
So there's no research or backing on this, but what helps me is if I drink just a small glass, like an 8-ounce glass of water right before I do my injection, then maybe it's a placebo effect, but for whatever reason, it makes me not get that flushing feeling as much, and I don't get as red the site injection. I don't really bruise when I do the injections, even the IM ones like glutathione and NAD. I don't really bruise from those.
Are you talking about shoulder?
Yeah, deltoid.
Yeah. Do you ever do sub-Q abdominal?
For IM?
Oh, well, not for IM, for sub-Q.
No,
No.
never.
I'll typically bruise in the stomach area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you have more blood vessels in that area.
Yeah. So what else does BPC 157 do? So nitric oxide modulation. So I don't know if you want to explain that.
I explain nitric oxide. No, you can explain that.
So it's just going to increase vasodilation. So it's going to enlarge the blood vessels, allow more blood flow to the areas where it needs blood flow to help resolve any, soft tissue issues.
Isn't it amazing how your body just naturally knows where to send more blood to go and heal?
I think the body's amazing, period. Yeah, what
But
God made is
do
crazy.
you know why the body knows how to do that?
Do I know how? Yeah, it's through inflammatory pathways.
Well, signalers.
Yeah.
And what are peptides? Signalers.
Yep.
So you're just helping your body communicate more internally with peptide therapy. Really, it's as simple as that.
So inflammatory pathway suppression. So it's going to downregulate these cytokines or these inflammatory signals. We want to silence them, so it's going to start to mute them. We've already talked about gut barrier restoration, so it's going to cause tight junction repair. It reduces leaky gut, which a lot of people have, and leaky gut. I see this day in and day out because obviously I'm in the business of pain as an endodontist, and a lot of people are taking NSAIDs because they're in pain. You could be taking it for all sorts of reasons.
Yep.
But you're taking it, and then that's gonna kind of break down the gut barrier, and then it's gonna cause leaky gut. NSAIDs are, they should be used only when necessary. Yeah. But we've got a fix.
Yeah.
And that's BPC.
Well, so the biggest thing that I noticed with BPC oral for me personally was my mood was more regulated and I wasn't as irritable, reactive. I'm sure because 90% of serotonin is produced in your gut, only 10% is produced in the brain. So I think for me, yes, I love having a healthy gut, but just the mood enhancement and the mood regulation. As a mom to a 3-year-old, I need all the help with serotonin I can get it. If my gut is bogged down and it's not producing it, the happy hormone, then, So for me, BPC, the biggest thing for me was the mood regulation that I got from it.
Well, then that kind of goes to the next thing. So there's neuroprotective effects. So it can reduce neuroinflammation. So maybe you had less neuroinflammation, so your brain was feeling a little bit better. It also supports dopaminergic signaling. So you had maybe a little bit more energy and drive and focus.
Yeah.
And it also modulates pathways for tendon, ligament, and muscle repair. So it's going to increase, fibroblasts and collagen synthesis. So you get faster repair and healing.
Yeah.
And, we won't talk about dosages. We've already talked about routes of administration. So injectable, oral. There also is nasal. I don't prefer nasal, period, just because anything nasal always leads to a headache for me.
Yeah, well, so I'm huge on, this, but neuropeptides. And so nasal route is always because it breaks the blood-brain barrier the fastest. So that's where the anti-inflammatory properties neurologically when you do it nasally. But I mean, I do some Max and Selink and have no issues with it. But some people just have, more sensitive.
I mean, I have issues with them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So everybody's different. And yeah, just to kind of summarize. So leaky gut, IBS, bloating, food sensitivities, NSAID damage. For me, IBS, that's kind of where it started when I originally started using the peptide. It had calmed my IBS down enough. I also was, introducing a lot of environmental things that were disturbing my gut. I removed those, and the combination, I think, healed me enough to where instead of having, loose stool and always having bloating and maybe kind of a little bit off, because I had Giardia as a kid, which is a parasite, and I lost like 25 pounds, and then I always had these gut issues since then. And so BPC really helped mitigate that, made it better.
Like I said, happy gut, happy butt.
Yeah, much happier butt. And we've already...
This episode is on Anthony's poop and loose stool.
Side effects, we've already kind of talked about.
Side effects is me having to listen to you talk about your poop.
Yeah.
That's the biggest side effect of BPC 157.
So results, I kind of like this. So within 7 to 10 days, you're going to feel less bloating, improved digestion, reduce pain. Then at 3 to 4 weeks, which goes back to this whole loading phase, is like you're going to start seeing results over time. You got to stick with it. We do have very, strict protocols in the way that we address, inflammation using these peptides. So then at 3 to 4 weeks, you may see, visible healing or feel visible healing with tendons and ligaments, improved sleep, lower overall body inflammation. And then at 6 to 8 weeks, because, we typically do an 8 to 10 week protocol.
We do a 12-week cycle, which is 2 rounds.
12.
Yeah.
And then, I think it can all range, but then you'll start to see, repair with your gut, as long as you're not continuing to have lifestyle, factors that are damaging the gut, like alcohol, or continue to introduce NSAIDs or using antibiotics. And then you'll have a better mood, better stress resilience. So it's a great peptide. All right, next. So studies on gut permeability and then neuroinflammation. So this is kind of the deeper dive. This is the research stuff that I know you don't really love, but I love this stuff.
I love it. I just think that I love it when it's broken down into digestible information.
Okay,
no pun intended.
Let's break it down. You break it down. I'll read it. You break it down. How about that? So there are reviews that have shown that gut permeability causes systemic inflammation, which then disrupts the blood-brain barrier and then causes neuroinflammation. So there's this huge tie between the gut and the brain. And
let's break it down there. Why is inflammation bad in the body?
Why is it bad?
Because everyone always talks about inflammation and how it is bad, but no one talks about why is it bad.
It's actually kind of good. Inflammation is good because it's signaling the body to come repair something that's damaged. But uncontrolled inflammation or inflammation that doesn't fully resolve is actually destructive, right? So there's a good part about inflammation, but then there's a bad part about inflammation. It can go unresolved, or what's a better term for that? It can go on for a long period of time. So that's when you get this kind of chronic inflammation, and then you're not healing properly. That tissue stays inflamed, it stays unhealed. So
Because you're inflamed everywhere and your body doesn't know where to go to heal.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So good thing, bad thing, but that's kind of what this research article is talking about. Another thing is leaky gut biomarkers, which we won't go into what those biomarkers are. They can cause cognitive decline because of the blood-brain barrier changes. And then lastly, there's an emerging role of gut microbiota. So, the gut dysbiosis and neuroinflammation and neurodegeneration.
So I love this part, Alzheimer's. So everyone in my family, it runs in my family. And I guess there's some studies out now that Alzheimer's is not as genetic as we thought it was, and it's more due to lifestyle. And there's studies out now, like this last one from, where's this from? Yeah. So the emerging role of gut microbiota dysbiosis in neuroinflammation and neurodegeneration. So I think that's super important because there's now studies out saying that, your gut even controls like whether or not you may or may not get Alzheimer's, or plays a role in that. And that's huge because I do know that everyone in my family that has had Alzheimer's, ultimately, unfortunately, died of Alzheimer's. All of them did not have a clean diet. And so, back then, this was, 20, 25 years ago, no one knew that even was a factor. But now it's coming into play that, yeah, of course it's a factor because your gut is the biggest system in your body. And of course it's going to affect your brain and everything. So yeah, I thought that study was the most interesting.
Yeah, so the gut dysbiosis, so let's maybe break down a little bit. The gut dysbiosis causes release of certain toxic factors that are going to weaken the intestinal barrier. And they're going to let this inflammatory junk into the bloodstream. And then eventually that's then going to damage the blood-brain barrier. And then once that's compromised, then you've got this chronic inflammation, and that accelerates amyloid plaques and then neuronal loss. So there's this nice, smooth, streamlined connection between the gut, then leading to brain issues and Alzheimer's. So let's get the gut right. And obviously going back to BPC 157, KPB, introducing those, having a good pre-probiotic, making sure you eliminate inflammatory factors, your food sensitivities, staying away from alcohol, staying away from insects, staying away from antibiotics, eating the right foods. And then another thing I think too is getting really good sleep.
Mm-hmm. So does that mean that you can never have a cheat day? Like what about like Taco Bell every once in a while? Do you just have to eat clean your entire life and you have a healthy gut so your serotonin is producing so you're happy?
Do you want the answer to be yes so you can eat Taco Bell?
Yeah, I mean sometimes, every once in a while. It's my vice.
Yeah.
But the BPC 157 helps, I'm sure, to get that out of my system right away. Sleep. Okay, why is sleep so important?
Sleep. Well, we're talking about gut. So the next one is...
I thought we were on decent now. How much more can we talk about the gut?
No, so the next one is this actually true? Does fiber maxing fix the gut? So there's this new thing called fiber maxing. I don't know anything about it. I don't really go on to other things like social media stuff, but apparently there's a social media push to increase daily fiber intake to 50 to 100 grams with foods like prunes, chickpeas, chia seeds, beans. So it's wanting to fix your microbiome diversity and feeding good bacteria. Is this actually true? Does fiber maxing fix the gut? So there is this
Well,
push.
what is fiber maxing first? So a ton of fibrous foods that you eat in a day, way more than the traditional amount that you're supposed to have. So supposedly that's going to fix your gut.
Yeah.
This is a new health trend. We love all of these health trends with absolutely no evidence behind them that are always coming out. But yeah, no, it doesn't. But let's talk about why people are saying it does.
Yeah, so the idea is, increasing fiber intake to 50 to 100 grams with foods like prunes, chickpeas, chia seeds, beans, and it basically trying to fix your microbiome diversity and feeding good bacteria. But increasing fiber, does help with gut health, but too fast and too high is going to cause butt issues.
Yeah, constipation for sure.
Yeah. Gas, bloating,
Yeah.
maybe a little blowout. So
And not a hair blowout, not the kind of blowouts that we like.
yeah, the bad blowouts. So it sounds heroic. However, I would say probably stay away from that. Stay down into the range of, fiber intake of 25 milligrams, 40 milligrams.
But who's actually counting their fiber like that? Like I would just say, nutrition does not have to be that complex. It is super simple. Eat a balanced diet with enough fiber, enough protein, lean protein, enough greens, enough fruits. Like eat a balanced diet and you'll be good. When you try to, obsessively count how many grams of fiber you had and how many carbs you've had in the day, that kind of thing, it becomes a chore. And habits are not healthy lifestyle habits are not formed by something that feels like a chore. It has to feel good and fun, and at least at the beginning, or else you're never going to stick with it. So if you're obsessing over it, you may do it for a little bit. I don't think that has longevity. So I think like this fiber maxing and all these other health and wellness trends, and we are a wellness clinic, but I think it's taking it to an unnecessary level, and every person's body is different. So where one person may benefit from fiber maxing because maybe their body, doesn't get a lot of fiber normally or process it, methylate it, I don't know, absorb the nutrients of it. And then another person needs a quarter of that amount. So you can't just like put this broad trend out and say, hey, everyone should do this, because it may not be right for you. And first, like get your blood work done. See what your nutrient levels are even at first, and then decide what's going to be best for you.
Yeah, I think food is really interesting. I've come into this phase in my life where I really understand my body. Like even the smallest changes, I feel it significantly more, maybe because I'm older, but it's just paying attention to how you feel. So, I like beer. I like to drink it, but I immediately have bloating. I don't feel that well. I mean, I know there's neuroinflammation occurring, gut inflammation. And so I feel that. And so it kind of regulates, how much I do drink, or even the foods that I take in. It's got to feel good, right? Like, so you start that digestive process, okay, your body, it appreciates what you just put into it. And then it's responding appropriately with a smiley face emoji. And then you're like, okay, well, that's good. I'm going to keep doing that thing.
Yeah. And I feel like because everybody is different, I think how you can tell if this is a food that your body needs, wants, is simple. So it's as simple as after you eat, do you feel more energized, more clear-minded, or do you feel tired, sleepy, sluggish? And I think that's one of the primary indications, because I know some foods, I'll eat them and other people will feel like, great and energized, and then I'll eat it and I don't feel that way. And then vice versa with other foods I eat and other people don't eat. But it's just about listening to your body, to your point, and knowing like your body is a great communicator. It will tell you I like this. This feels good. I feel energized. I feel more clear minded right now. Or this is not good. I don't love this. Like if I eat a steak, most people, like my husband, for instance, he eats a steak and then it's like as if he just drank a Red Bull. He has so much energy and, you know, just feels great. I eat a steak and I feel like I need to go to sleep for 4 days. It's just we have different bodies. So, like, yes, in I might need a lot less than he does or a lot less frequently, but it's just about listening to your body and knowing your body will tell you what's good for you and what's not.
So, hot take, your gut influences your mood more than your therapist does. So 95, we've already talked about it, 95% of serotonin is produced in the gut, which obviously regulates your mood. So let's get that inflammation down in your gut so that you can better produce serotonin and have a better mood.
That was a hot take.
That was a hot take. That was pretty hot. Peptide myth busters. Peptides are illegal. Are peptides illegal?
Are peptides legal? Yes, peptides are legal. Are they FDA approved? Not yet, because Big Pharma hasn't figured out.
Well, some are.
They're FDA regulated.
No, there's some that are FDA approved.
Oh, there are?
Yeah.
Like what?
PT141, SS31 just got it.
Okay, yeah. But yes, peptides are legal, but where you get them from, the source of them is super important. Obviously, there's a lot of peptide companies popping up around here. If you are doing peptide therapy if you are self-diagnosing and self-treating with peptide therapy and ordering online, you have no idea where it's coming from. You have no idea the purity because those are research only, and you don't have a clinician guiding you. Appropriate cycling, appropriate off cycling, appropriate stacking and combining of this peptide works well with this peptide for your specific goal. So it's just very important to do it right. If you're going to do it at all, for safety, but also for efficacy.
Yeah, I mean, if the FDA's got their hands in this mix and the general idea behind it is they're trying to protect the general public, right? And make sure that we're, putting stuff in our body that's, the general idea. The general idea, right? That institution is saying, well, look, we're looking out for you. That's not absolutely true all the time.
They're saying we haven't figured out how to make money off of you from this yet. And we need to keep you sicker because Big Pharma, we make billions off of you. So peptides would heal you. We cannot heal you. That's what they're saying. Continue.
Yes. So the politically correct thing would be that they're trying to protect you. So if they're regulating it, and you're going and you're not even using an accredited 503A compounding pharmacy, and you're getting it off the internet or you're getting it from your friend who's selling it, who's sourcing it from China, that's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a problem, right? So it's already heavily regulated, and then you're going outside of that regulation, and they're saying some of these things may not be perfectly safe for you yet. We haven't proven that. And then you're going over here to China and getting it, and who knows what it is.
But okay, so statins, they say, oh, this is safe, this is great, this is going to save your life. There's clinical trials, and they literally hid information from the public and still passed through the FDA, passed through approval, because who's funding these trials? Big Pharma. So, and statins are not safe for a lot of people. Now, if it's a chronic, significant, I'm not a cardiologist, obviously, but there's tons of information out there now from lots of doctors that are saying statins are not safe like everyone told us that it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. But so with the safety, safety and FDA should not be in the same sentence, honestly. It's all a ploy.
Yeah. Have we talked about this before?
I don't think we can put any of this in the...
Yeah, well, no. Okay, so Mythbusters, peptides are illegal. No, they're absolutely legal, but you should be, use caution when you're getting peptides.
Yeah, don't go to the guy on the corner and buy BPC 157 and CJC 1295. Go to an actual clinic. Don't buy it off the street or online. I mean, when you get research only, that's basically what you're doing. You have no idea what's in it, what's not in it.
Right.
You have no idea where it's coming from.
Have we done this deep dive before where so peptides went from a lot of really, really powerful peptides went from category 1 to category 2, which basically the FDA was saying, don't compound these anymore. Which a lot of them, I mean, it's the large majority of the ones that really do heal you. So they moved them to category 2. They moved them to category 2 because there was pharmaceutical companies coming in going, wow, this is healing people. Let's now take it away from compounding pharmacies, and then let's try to put it through phased trials so that we can bring it to market. Now we can mark it up, 5x of what you would normally get it for. We now control it, and then we're going to sell it to the public, and we're going to make a ton of money off of it. Well, there's word on the street that a lot of these peptides are going to come back to category 1 here real soon. I think even by the end of the year, if it hasn't already happened. But because maybe they didn't go and proceed with those trials and be able to bring it to market.
It takes 9 years usually.
Yeah.
For a clinical trial.
So the FDA is in bed with Big Pharma, and obviously they're going to do what's best for them as an institution so they can make money, and they're going to protect the pharmaceutical companies because they're the ones who are paying them. And so it's a little bit of this evilness going on in the background. Yeah. It's not necessarily to protect you.
Definitely not to protect you. It's to make money off of you. But did you know that a lot of people, when they retire from or they get pulled from the FDA, where do they go work for? Big pharma companies.
Oh, yeah?
Yep. So a lot of the FDA officers go and work for Big Pharma when they leave the FDA. So what does that say? What sort of relationship is there?
So what's trending online? Okay. The rise of gut tox olive oil shots. So the trend is 1 to 2 tablespoons of olive oil on an empty stomach will cause gut repair. But the reality is it's not going to heal your gut. It's just going to give you good fats.
Right, which are super important. But what else is it? I mean, I'm married to an Italian, so I probably do that naturally every day just because of all of the olive oil that he manages to put into every single thing that we eat, because that's like their salt, their butter. But what is the reason behind this? Are they saying that it's going to it works as like a laxative? It's going to clean out your gut? How is this supposed to repair your gut?
I think they're saying it has some anti-inflammatory effects, and maybe it does, but it's not. It's salad dressing. It's not a medicine or a surgical procedure, or it's not going to fix the gut.
So are people doing this to lose weight, or they're doing it just for microbiome health?
Gut healing. Yeah. So why are you tired even when you sleep?
Because you have a 3-year-old.
Right.
And you're sleeping with a foot in your mouth and a fist in your ribs. Why are you tired? What's your excuse?
Honestly, I think just stress, because then you don't actually have really good sleep. So let's talk a little bit about sleep. Circadian rhythm, DSIP, and sleep sabotage. So if your mitochondria had Yelp pages, most of you would have a 1-star review.
You're so bad at delivering satire and jokes. If your mitochondria had Yelp pages, most of you would have a 1-star review.
Okay, so the peptide of the week, DSIP. It's the sleep stage bodyguard. And let's dive into what is DSIP. Do you want to tell us what DSIP is?
Okay, so DSIP I love. It's one of my new favorite peptides. So you can think of medications like Ambien and even not prescribed, but I was about to say melanotan, melatonin. So those basically knock you out. They make you fall asleep, right? But DSIP doesn't knock you out and make you fall asleep. What it does is it helps to organize your sleep so that your sleep cycles are more productive and so that you don't have cortisol being released while you're trying to sleep at night. And it's just a healthier sleep. So it's not just knocking you out, it's actually giving you healthier sleep. So that's why I love DSIP. And there's no grogginess in the morning, there's no feeling tired and like hungover from the sleep medication. You actually feel more awake because you got healthy, organized sleep cycles while you're sleeping with DSIP.
Yeah, no, I think PT141 used to be my favorite peptide, and now I've changed my mind that DSIP is it. I think when you actually have a regulated, body, meaning you've gotten rid of toxins and you're taking care of yourself. If you introduce DSIP, I mean, it regulated my sleep cycle, and I was waking up profoundly more rested. I would to the point where I was able to get off of sleeping medication completely because of DSIP, and I did a couple rounds of it. But let's talk a little bit more about the mechanisms of action and really what's going on. So it enhances slow wave deep sleep.
Okay, well, I guess I was going to say something there.
Oh, what were you going to say?
Let's talk about that. I was going to say, when you first started DSIP, you were even weary of it. You were like, I don't really think that's going to work. And then you did a couple of cycles. Consistency is key, and you saw all of the benefits of it.
Well, I had previously used it before, but I think I had just was so dysregulated because I had, just too many toxins. So I went through a full detoxification phase. Yeah, I was able to lower inflammation and lower my stress level. And then that's when I was able to start to regulate my sleep cycle with DSIP. So again, it enhances slow wave deep sleep, which is, your restorative sleep cycle. So it increases the amount.
Am I in the computer?
It increases the amount of activity. And then it also increases sleep spindles. So what's a sleep spindle?
I have no idea.
Sleep spindles support, memory consolidation, emotional regulation, and cognitive performance. So you want more sleep spindles.
Should I raise my hand when I want to make a comment?
Yes, please.
Okay. I don't want to right now. But I'm just wondering.
Okay. And then it modulates neurotransmitters. So it's going to increase GABAergic tone. So GABA being what kind of relaxes you, think lowers anxiety, makes you feel a little bit more, tired, if you will. It also modulates serotonin receptors, and all these things are going to help support sleep onset, that's one thing I really noticed with DSIP is I was able to fall asleep faster and stay asleep, I think, well, I don't really know because I didn't measure it. I wish I had. Next time I will, because I'm going to get this new ring called the Bond ring, and I'll actually be able to measure really the depth of my deep sleep.
I feel like you would be a great stack to put with DSIP when you're reading these studies and all of these benefits at a very high level. Because this puts you to sleep, and then so does DSIP. So you stacked with DSIP, reading the benefits of DSIP, ironically, would be the optimal stack.
So it also supports stress. So it also supports stress recovery. So it's going to influence cortisol rhythm, vagal tone.
What is vagal tone?
What you tell me? What's vagal tone?
It reminds me of those chips that you used to put on your finger, and they're the pointy ones. What are they called?
Bugles.
Bugles.
Bugles. So vagal tone, the vagus nerve regulates the parasympathetic nervous system. So that's what's going to cause rest and digest. So less stress, more of a regulated state. So you want vagal tone. It also protects the blood-brain barrier, and yeah.
And now everyone is asleep.
It's ideal for patients who wake up multiple times per night, that want to feel refreshed the next morning without feeling groggy. That was another thing, is I woke up and I didn't feel groggy versus when I was taking sleep medication, pharmaceutical sleep medication. I was always waking up tired the next morning. Mm-hmm. So I was waking up fully rested and ready to go versus having to drag through the first part of the morning, at least for about 2 hours, to come out of that grogginess previously from the sleep medication.
You know what I heard recently is that you should not drink coffee for the first couple hours after you wake up.
Yeah, that is true. So
You were like married to this, like, you don't have to follow it exactly.
well, we're all going to read what's in here.
But I'm just trying to segue into, like, let's talk about something interesting. I heard this about coffee, and you're like, yep, okay, so let's keep going.
What do you know about coffee? Caffeine attaches to adenosine receptors. So you want your adenosine receptors to be clear, and then that's when you're going to introduce caffeine.
Okay, when is your adenosine receptors clear?
You wanted to talk about caffeine.
Not the adenosine receptors.
Why are they telling you that you shouldn't drink caffeine?
Did you know that coffee only comes from, it's like one area. It's like, anyway, it only came from one area originally, and they brought all the coffee beans over to all these other areas, and now there's coffee produced in all over the world, but that it only was in one area first. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
That's interesting, right? That's interesting. It's more interesting.
Is that true?
It is true.
So DSIP is extremely well tolerated. There are, obviously some mild side effects, which could be vivid dreams, maybe, some headache, but that's really about it.
Well, I think vivid dreams are good. It means that you're in your deep, slow wave sleep. So that's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing. You got anything else to say about DSIP?
DSIP is the bee's nip.
Okay, so this is the stuff that I love. So study breakdown on DSIP.
This is the stuff you love.
Yes.
I know we can do the stuff I love.
Studies about DSIP. I'm just going to summarize it, make it really easy.
Are you, though?
Not overwhelm everybody. So in the original DSIP study that was published, researchers infused DSIP directly into rabbit brains and saw a dramatic increase in both slow wave and sleep spindles, which we just talked about.
They diffused it into their brains?
Infused it into their brains. And there was a dramatic increase in both slow wave sleep, so the good deep sleep, and then sleep spindles, which we know that's where memory consolidation happens and all the other good stuff. The two deepest and most restorative sleep phases. And what's fascinating is that they tested 8 other peptides and none of them produced the same pattern. Only DSIP. And this confirmed DSIP's unique ability to stabilize sleep architecture rather than sedate the brain.
I'm going to start calling you DSIP.
Okay, so is this true? You can catch up on sleep on the weekends?
No, because it takes more than 2 days after you have missed sleep. Right?
What?
With what?
No. No, it's about circadian rhythm, right? So, yeah, like maybe you didn't get much sleep during the weekday for whatever reason. Your daughter was keeping you up. So on the weekend, you're trying to catch up, right? So if you try to sleep in further, or maybe you go to sleep later, you're going to disrupt your sleep cycle because during the week, right? Like you want to go to bed at, let's just say 10, and you're waking up at 5 a.m. You want to stay on that cycle even during the weekend. You don't want to change that cycle because I've noticed it personally. If I stay up later and then if I try to wake up later, I disrupt my entire circadian rhythm. So come Sunday night, I've got a little bit of Monday scaries because I'm not able to fall asleep the way that I normally would. And I'm also waking up just extremely tired.
Well, being a mom takes care of that for you because you have to wake up at the same time every morning, no matter what, because a toddler's circadian rhythm is excellent. They wake up at the exact same time, no matter what, the same morning, super early. I mean, every morning, super early. So there is no, trying to sleep in. Not at least for like the next 5 years, probably.
Well, what you could do is you could get on the same sleep cycle as your child, right? So like she has a bedtime, right?
Well, we're in a sleep regression, but yes.
Oh, sleep regression.
So the same cycle as her in a sleep regression right now would be sleep 2 hours, wake up, drink 12 ounces of milk, sleep another 2 hours.
Brush your teeth after drinking that milk.
I know, dentist, but we don't because mama's tired. And so basically I would be sleeping in 2 to 3 hour intervals. But it is what I do because I do have to wake up because she's not going to like go in the kitchen and make her bottle of milk by herself. So yeah, I am on her sleep cycle.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
you should get on her sleep cycle.
I don't want to be on her sleep cycle anymore. But yeah,
Yeah. Okay, so hot take. Richelle, let's do the hot
I
take.
bet this is not going to be that hot, but what is it?
Your late night phone habits are sabotaging your entire nervous system. So what do we know about late night phone habits and how it wrecks your sleep?
That's when I send you the 95 Instagram reels at night. I know, but it's like also like it's what helps you like calm down and fall asleep too. You're like
Really?
well, you're mindlessly scrolling. You aren't like doing business strategy or solving a problem or putting out fires or wiping a toddler's hiney. You're just your own time, just scrolling through your. I have started though doing this game instead of social media, which is supposed to help with the synapses in your brain. So it's like exercise for your brain, but I've started doing that before, and it actually makes me sleepy way faster.
Because it's so boring.
What? No. I mean, this makes me way sleepier, but because it's like going for a run. Then afterwards, I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just like going for a run.
It's like my synapses in my brain going for a little midnight jog.
So when you go for a jog, you want to fall asleep afterwards?
Oh, that's a good point.
When I go for a jog,
It's a
I'm
little
kind of a little jacked up and I'm not going to be able to fall asleep.
But then, okay,
Endorphin release.
but then you sleep great that night, right?
Yeah, that night.
Yeah. So then, all right, yeah, I'll just play it when I'm driving home then. And then that way,
makes
in
the
like
most sense.
3 hours later, I'll be able to go to sleep.
Yeah, so the scrolling with the blue light, and then it's going to cause a spike in dopamine, delayed melatonin release, and then it's going to jack up your cortisol. Because when I'm on social media and scrolling through stuff, the biggest thing for me is it kind of gets me a little bit like my central nervous system gets a little excited because of all the crazy. Maybe I'm just getting targeted for all of the bad news that's going on in this world. And then on top of that, I know for sure that the blue light is extremely destructive because here's the test that I do, right? So when
You wear blue light glasses.
yeah, no, I do at night. But when I wake up in the morning, and this is a bad habit, and I know it's not a good thing to do, I will open up my phone, and I'll immediately go to Instagram.
Do you have a flip phone?
Yeah, so I
You'll open up your phone.
open my phone, and then I start scrolling, and that light is what wakes me up.
So why is that a bad thing?
Because they say that you shouldn't be getting on your phone and having that cortisol, like huge cortisol spike. It should be kind of a slow entry into that. Plus, I don't think it's very good to like.
Well, and you're starting your day with like you send me like the scariest things about like the world ending and us being taken over by other countries and things like that. But I think it's like also like just like your old man age. Now you're like super worried about everything. So if you wake up in the morning and then the first thing you do is fill your mind with all these scary things. You know what you should do?
It'll wake you up.
You should wake up in the morning and you should just read a study rather than going on Instagram.
I will try that.
I think it'll help. So I don't know what was going on in my body because I should have done my lab work exactly when this started happening. But you know how I love like my like me time is my like bubble baths. And for a while there, I was having like my skin would have this like reaction where I would get like super like red and like rashes all over. And so I was like, what is happening? It was super weird. So then though about like 2 or 3 weeks in, maybe a month, but to doing glutathione and NAD.
This happened 2 or 3 months into you using it?
No. Before I was having this. This is when I was off cycle, no peptides at all.
Okay.
And then I started on NAD, glutathione and BPC 157 and dihexa, but that's neuro. But anyway, so about a month into that, then my skin stopped having that reaction. It was almost like an autoimmune inflammatory. I don't know. It was weird. I don't know what was going on. I didn't feel anyway, but my skin, I was like, why do I have rashes all over all of a sudden just from taking like a warm bubble bath? And I didn't change like the soap, the bubbles, anything like that.
Would it go away pretty
After
quickly?
I got out, yeah.
Okay.
But like it's my body, my skin telling me like something is not normal. So I don't know what was going on. I should have done my lab work, but I didn't. But what I'm saying is that I don't know if it was the NAD, the glutathione, the BPC, but or the combination of the three, but about a month after starting that went away and it hasn't come back since.
So I'm just going to make an observation. It doesn't make it true, but I'm thinking you were in a warm bath, right? And so that might have created a little bit of open up detoxification pathway. So maybe you were starting to kind of have a little bit of a skin reaction to those toxins being eliminated and removed from the body. And then so you saw it manifest in the skin, and this is doesn't make it exactly true, but I'm thinking potentially this could be the route. Then you introduce glutathione, which we know is the master antioxidant and detoxifier.
Yeah.
So you started to use these medications, you were lowering inflammation as well, and then you got rid of that response.
Yeah.
Maybe you do have a toxic load that may be a little overwhelming that you're not seeing that's underlying all of this, and it could be disrupting your sleep. I know your child is obviously disrupting your sleep, but there could be more factors, root causes.
Yeah. But I think for sure if I would not have started on glutathione, NAD, and BPC, it would still be happening because, that's the only thing I can attribute it going away to. So yeah, I think it absolutely probably was because of doing those three. But it was weird. It wasn't like super serious or anything. I didn't like feel anything. I just like saw it all over my skin. I was like, what is happening?
Well, to branch out of that same thought process, I think the biggest, most profound changes I ever had with peptides, nutraceuticals, etc., was just recently when I got off of my use of Adderall, or I was doing 60 milligrams plus a day, and when I was able to wean off of that effectively, and then introduced cell cores, and I actually did phase 1 through 4, and was able to open up those detoxification pathways, and then I introduced in NAD to kind of upregulate that, the mitochondria and the energy, and I was using glutathione again to continue that whole process of detoxification, then introduced into the DSIP into my sleep cycle. That combination, I have never felt better in my life. Like, it was a high, truly a high. And
like you felt like you were taking like a stimulant high? Like the same as
kind of,
Adderall?
but it was like that, not like Adderall, like you're stimulated in the sense of, an excitatory phase. It was like this underlying profound energy that I had. And I think it was truly because I was detoxing properly and, getting rid of the stimulants that were essentially wrecking my entire next day over and over and over again because of the dopamine and serotonin and, norepinephrine release. And so I was never able to get back to baseline. And so you continue, people talk about these stimulants, which I think are being overused overall in the world, that they really are taking away. They're stealing from your next day because those neurotransmitters are really kind of getting depleted, if you will. And then I do think that causes neuroinflammation. So
Cool, for sure. And then also like you don't have to, but most people will like have some drinks at night just to go to sleep, because how else are they going to go to sleep? And they have to go to sleep because then they have to get up the next morning and then do it all over again. So it's like the only thing, they're either taking like, a Xanax or an Ambien or a couple glasses of wine or something like that. And then so obviously that's like poison and terrible for you, but you have to sleep. So then they're doing this balancing game of, okay, well, do I just not take something to help me seductive,
Sedate?
succulent,
sedate.
sedative. Do I not take a sedative and then I only go to sleep for 3 or 4 hours because I can't go to sleep? Or do I drink half a bottle of wine or take an Ambien and then go to sleep, but then I feel super groggy and I've like poisoned my body and flooded it with alcohol. So it's a terrible cycle
Right.
that happens with stimulants. It's very dangerous, and it can like take years off of your life, but like off your brain's life.
Yeah.
It's so bad for your brain.
But I mean, using myself as the example, not that we really treated anybody who's trying to come off of stimulants, but I think that that's something that we can provide, where we slowly introduce a weaning phase and then introduce peptides, nutraceuticals, open up those detoxification pathways, and then you can feel better again, and you can actually eliminate that from your life. You've had a really, really good experience with Dehexa. Samax, did you take Samax?
Yes, love it. So Link is okay. So before I was like, okay, I thought Samax is greater than Selink, right? And I was like, Selink just for like anxiety and, mood regulation, that sort of thing. And yes, it's a neuroprotectant as well, so that's excellent. But I was like, so is Samax, so I'm just going to do Samax because that doesn't like. I was thinking that Selink was going to make you feel like tired or sleepy.
It does.
But well, that's because you're doing it at night. But like there's this one patient that we have, and she actually like one of the most stressful times of day for her is when she's like going and she has like anxiety about it, but like going and sitting in carpool line and then just like sitting there. And I guess it's just like being stuck in that carpool line until you like for 30 minutes until you get to the front.
So it's like Atlanta traffic essentially.
And it's like anticipating, like you're sitting there, you're stuck in the carpool line, and then that like the rest of your day is going to be all about, mommy, I need this, I want this, I need this, can I do this, give me that, not that teat, this teat, not that teat, but that teat, no, I don't want that anymore, like that, always 24/7. You'll see when you're done. But so it's like the anticipation, anyways, anxiety, right? So she started doing Selink. I was like, okay, so when you're in the carpool line, then just do one like spray per nostril of this Selink. And she said that it like significantly helped to like down regulate her, and like no sleepiness or tiredness or anything like that. It's not like a sedative, but it really helped her. So
no, I don't think it sedates you. I mean, you've used it, right? Yeah.
Sure.
You have?
No,
you've never used it. Okay. So, I mean, I've used it. I have it right now, and I usually use it kind of at night to introduce, that little bit of that, anxiolytic effect. So less anxious, just like you're talking about, but it makes me a little bit, just a slight bit tad tired.
Well, it might just be because of the time you're doing it at night when you're probably about to be tired anyway.
Yeah.
And then it just helps to reinforce that.
Well, and I'm also doing 4 sprays too.
Yeah.
So
that's probably why you say it
dose,
hurts your nostrils a little.
It doesn't hurt my nostrils.
You said it hurt your nostrils or your nasal passageways.
No.
You said it burned a little.
No.
What?
It doesn't burn.
You said that.
When?
Like literally like 20 minutes ago and then 2 days ago.
Hey, headache.
Oh, nasal passageways, whatever,
Yeah,
same
burns.
thing.
Burns, headache.
Burns? It burns what, your brain? You don't have nerves in your brain. It burns your nasal passageway.
Yeah. So back to Samax, Dehexa.
Let's go back to that.
I noticed a big change in truly in your recall, your verbal acuity, like your ability to speak. Not like you couldn't speak before, but your ability to, at a high level, just kind of recall things and articulate. Yeah. Which is what you're good at, articulation. So
in writing, but I've always, like, you've known me for 8 years. So it's like what is happening in my brain, and I know like you have way more thoughts in your brain and it thinks way faster than you can speak or type, but I always could like get out what I was trying to say in writing, like communicate, but there's like a break from my brain to my mouth, it coming out. I don't know, something did not form, I think, when I was in the womb, as far as like verbal recall or verbal just communication in general. But I agree. I have noticed. So, because it helps with like neuroplasticity too, right? So, I've noticed that I also can articulate better verbally since starting. But I think like all of them are fine separately. I really do think that stacking them is where it's at because they have a little bit different indications. Like one of them is like, a nootropic, the other one is like a neuroprotectant. One of them works on neural pathways, forming new neural pathways. The other one works on neuroplasticity and forming new neurons. So I think like combining the two, that's really like where I saw the difference.
Yeah, and the research is out too on Dehexa just being so profound. I mean, I think there's even studies now where it compared it against what is it, Aricept, which is the Alzheimer's medication, and it trumped it. I mean, it was like 4 or 5x of whatever they were testing as far as results were concerned. And so
And it originally that's what it was studied for, Dihexa. The original indication was for neurodegeneration, Alzheimer's, dementia, and it was used for patients that had Alzheimer's and dementia.
Yeah. So I think it's just an extremely powerful drug. Obviously, it's got to be used with caution because of kind of its angiogenic effects and its ability to really restore the body. So,
and mind.
In mind, yeah.
Yeah.
But what other things have you done in the past that you feel like you've gotten really good results with, or patients have gotten really good results with?
So, in females, what I've noticed, mid 30s to mid 40s is around the age, but tesamorelin has worked excellent for them. Usually stacked with like a GLP, but sometimes done by itself, but for that stubborn belly fat. So they've seen great results from that. It's helped them with better sleep. And then also it's helped them with better recovery from workouts, muscle tone.
Hair, skin, nails.
Right. But tesamorelin, because, I would say 50 plus, unless specifically they're wanting stubborn belly fat, then samorelin, because that has more growth hormone, anti-aging properties than tesamorelin. But if it's like they work out, they eat clean, they just want some help with that stubborn belly fat, tesamorelin has really like excelled for our patients in that arena.
And back to the stacking thing too. So you're talking about using a GLP like tirzepatide, and then you're using tesamorelin, profound fat loss, but also you're using the tesamorelin too to hopefully help combat the muscle atrophy that may occur with that kind of quick fat loss.
Yeah. I mean, that's what our gold standard is. If we at all can help it, unless the patient absolutely refuses, but we always put a GLP with the peptide that helps to prevent muscle waste and long-term use, bone density, bone loss. So yeah, absolutely you need to have, and also it's just going to excel your results. You're going to still have the same energy level that you had before because tesamorelin, tirzepatide, and semaglutide suppress your appetite. So you aren't taking in as much food, as much nutrients. And so you don't have as much energy is the most common thing that people experience with the GLP. But if you stack it with the proper for that specific person, and every person is different. So that's why you really have to look at that person, their goals, where they are baseline health, and you stack it with the right peptide, then they experience the benefits of the GLP without the low energy, tiredness, all of that.
Yeah. And I also noticed too, one thing it may also help kind of counterbalance is I always get that kind of flu-like symptom when I first take it for the first day or two when I'm taking a GLP.
Really?
Like it's almost this low grade, like, you almost, when you get a little achy, when you start to get the flu and you're kind of just like, it's dragging. I get that for like a day or maybe a day and a half. And so one thing to combat that is, obviously keeping your energy levels up. You've got to get protein intake in, you've got to get fiber, but I do think with that counterbalance of the peptides, you've got a little bit more gas in the tank and it maybe mutes that flu-like response.
Yeah, you also have more gas in your stomach from the slowing of the gastric emptying.
Yes.
So that could literally you have more gas in your tank.
You've got a lot of gas.
Yeah. 5-amino 1-MQ. So I know you don't love this one as much, but you will eventually. I think you just started your first round, so do another one and see how you feel. But 5-amino 1-MQ. So it works at the mitochondrial level. And I love anything that has to do with cellular energy because I think that's like, I'm a huge believer in you treat the root, go to the root cause, and then start at the root, and then everything else, you'll have the residual benefits of a lot of that dissipating. So I think like healthy cellular energy is the most important. And 5-amino 1-MQ originally studied for obesity, so weight loss, but different than different other weight loss drugs because it's literally working at the mitochondria, the innermost part of the cell, and excellent energy levels. So yes, there's a loading phase with that, of course. So you're not, the first week going to be like, oh, I have so much energy, I feel great. But that also like combined with lipo-B, which is just like, a bunch of vitamins or 3 vitamins, but that combined with 5-amino 1-MQ, then that exasperates the benefits and speeds up the timeline of results. But a lot of patients have been raving about how much they love 5-amino 1-MQ.
For energy or for fat loss?
Both.
For energy and fat loss. And so the fat loss part it's because of insulin sensitivity. So you're better, your insulin sensitivity is better, meaning, you're able to utilize your blood sugar more appropriately. And obviously that's going to have fat loss and fat control effects. But again, maybe I need to do another round of 5-amino. But I think you personally, what we've seen in the clinic is there is some profound effects with that medication. And it's very cost effective too.
Yeah. Yeah, right? It's very, So the oral form, which is highly effective taken orally, which a lot of peptides aren't, but this one is. But yeah, it's under $200 for a 6-week supply of it. So yeah, it's very cost effective. You said something earlier that you have flu-like symptoms at first, like the achiness and grogginess. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, no, I think it's a common side effect from GLPs. I don't know the mechanism behind that. No, I knew that you were going to ask that, but I don't know. I just always have it unless I'm microdosing it. So at that higher level, when you're really trying to, promote fat loss, that's when I notice it.
I wonder if it's because of the insulin resistance. So like if you aren't, obviously it's originally a diabetic medication. So if you aren't diabetic.
Maybe it's because it's actually dry, and maybe I should do one of those, like levels or one of those things where you can actually measure your blood sugar. Yeah. So that could show me that I'm really just my blood sugar is dropping tremendously. That's causing me to have that kind of feeling where I'm lethargic or I don't have much energy.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
That's probably exactly why. When you do that with a peptide though, do you feel like that?
I feel less of it, and it could be placebo. There could be an effect there, but yeah, I feel like I've got a little bit more energy. But again,
I think placebos would work on you.
Yeah, they typically don't. Let's think other medications, peptide wise. Like for sure, when I had my back surgery, I introduced TB500 and BPC 157. Now, what I had a microdiscectomy, so I had a completely obliterated L5S1 disc that was compressing upon my my spinal cord, and I was having numbness and severe pain. And so that surgery, I'm telling you, I didn't even think I was going to have as much pain as I did. And I was blown away, and it lasted, acute pain for 7 days, and it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And then I had this breakthrough around day 8, and pain started to go down. Now I was using TB500 and BPC 157 at the time, but I just think that surgery itself caused so much inflammation and irritation of the nerve.
Were you injecting direct into site of injury?
No,
systemically,
no, just 5 days a week?
Yeah.
But that's when I've used it recently. I've used it for other things too. I have patella tendinopathy, so just my basically my knee, my tendon in my knee was inflamed and irritated. Jumper's knee is what they call
Just
it.
say that.
Yeah, jumper's knee. And
Not
so,
pituitary phlebotomist.
yeah, so severe pain. And I did site injection. So they say, you know, if you inject locally, that potentially there could be more of the anti-inflammatory effects. It's closer to the site versus being systemically absorbed and then having to go to the area. I noticed a pretty good change, but then again, you can't just take a peptide and be like, do all the work. You know, I had to do the PT, I had to do the at-home stuff. I had to make sure that I wasn't irritating it and continuing that inflammatory cycle. So you can't look at peptides, and even though they work amazingly, and say you're the fix, right? Like they don't fix everything,
Yeah.
but they sure do help. But what was the other one I was saying? Oh, for my back. My back, I think, is another really, really interesting thing that a lot of people have talked about in the past. I've noticed it's kind of, or maybe I'm just not getting targeted or listening to things as much, but exosomes and stem cells.
Yeah.
Powerful, powerful, powerful tools to, you know, help rehabilitate and restore areas. And, you know, it's accessible to people.
Yeah. Well, so one of the main, so I always use this example, but I thought about this when you were talking about the injury with your back. So Sophia, she fell off of the slide the other day on the playground, which is crazy. They're like rag dolls, can literally like flip all around and fall. Anyway, so she hurt her back and she had like a bump on her back and a little bruise and everything. And it shows the power of peptides. I feel like she's
How big was this slide?
I mean, they're pretty big for like toddlers, but it's on like the toddler playground at her school. She's 3.5.
Do they still have monkey bars?
Yeah, they do have monkey bars there.
I wonder if I could do a monkey bar. Can you do a monkey bar?
I mean, I feel like I can.
I bet you could.
I bet I couldn't. I haven't done, well, I haven't gone to the gym in a minute. Anyway, but so she is like the biggest confirmation to me about how peptides actually work and stem cells actually work, because like all of her peptides are brand new, signaling perfectly, fully functioning, and she heals so quickly. I mean, it really reminds me of, I know they call BPC the Wolverine drug, but like she really reminds me of Wolverine. Like I'm like, you are like superhuman. How do you heal so quickly? You like have a bump on your head, and then like we would like go to the ER and then like have a concussion and then like literally have that for like 2 weeks. And it's like it's there, and then I'll look over and 2 hours later it's like she has a new body and everything's gone. Like the bump is gone completely. I'm like, that is insane. But it's because her peptides are brand new.
Yeah, and the power of stem cells too. I mean, she's got so many of them.
And as we age, like it stops. Peptides are kind of like, you know what I thought about? Peptides are kind of like an old couple in a marriage. So the longer that they're together, the more they stop communicating with one another. And it's like your body and the peptides. So it's like the peptides are the wife, your body is the husband. The longer they're together, as you age, the less they communicate with one another.
Well, there might be really good relationships where like older people are still talking to each other, but for sure, I get your example. Maybe it's because they're getting some amyloid plaques and having a little bit of a lack of recall and ability to have conversations.
The peptides?
No, the older people.
That was just an analogy, though. I wasn't like trying to talk about like older people's relationships.
Yeah, no, I think it is. They're not talking, but we also have less of them too. Right? So we've got to restore them. You're talking about peptides.
Oh, I didn't know if we were talking about grandparents or peptides. I was confused what we were talking about now. Okay. Yeah. Yes, we have less of them because the tails of them die and then they can't get to where they need to go as quickly.
The tails of who?
Or the peptides, not the
peptide tails?
the telomeres.
The telomeres. That's how you envision peptides.
Yeah, is that not how you
I envision it like so you had this really, really good example. We were trying to put together like a marketing video, and we were talking about peptides and like the power of peptides, right? And so you have a little consultation, and let's just say it's a 40-year-old woman, and she's having a conversation, and like, okay, here's the peptides. Give her the peptides. Then she comes back for the second consultation, and it's your daughter sitting there having a conversation because you've restored the peptides to the level of that child. And to your point is like children, their ability to heal, their level of their peptide level is just insane. I thought that was a really good visualization of the way peptides can restore you.
Or even like, yeah, because I think of it like, obviously, like it's not going to make you look like 30 years younger, but you feel 30 years younger. And you forget because your normal baseline level becomes like this slow, groggy, lethargic, weak. And that's just your new normal because humans are highly adaptable. So we just adapt to our new suboptimal norm. And so then when you do peptides, though, you never want to stop because you're like, oh, this can be my new normal. And so my like whole idea was like, oh yeah, the woman's like looking in the mirror and she's her age, and then she starts peptide therapy, and then she's looking in the mirror again, and now she's her 20-year-old self again because that's what you feel like internally.
Yeah.
It's like Benjamin buttoning, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, just not physically. Well, physically, yeah. I mean, like, so we had a patient come in. She's been a patient of ours for 8 or 9 months now. I haven't seen her in person for about 4 or 5 months. She's on GHKCU, so the copper peptide. She came in for a chemical peel a couple of days ago. Her hair, she is postmenopausal, and she had like some hair loss, thinning of hair. She came in for a chemical peel. I saw her 2 days ago, and her hair was like a beautiful, like lion's mane. I was like, your hair looks
How long has she been on GHKCU?
amazing. 4 months,
4 months.
4 or 5 months. Yeah.
So yeah.
But
That
unbelievable. Like I see the results every day, or hear about them, and so it's like it just confirmation
she's seeing
bias.
it too. I mean, she's confirming it too. Yeah.
Yeah, we wanted to do an off cycle with her just so that she doesn't have receptor sensitivity. And she was like, do I have to? I don't want to do an off cycle. And I was like, it's not going to like you stop and it goes away. It's not a supplement like that. Once it's gone in and fixed the signaling, it'll continue to signal correctly. You just have to like continue with maintenance after.
Well, maybe is it injectable you're using?
Yeah.
So coming off an injectable and then maybe going to a topical form, to that point, I mean, I've been documenting this, and before I started, I don't know, was this like 3 or 4 months ago? Mm-hmm. I have a photo of my hair where I've just been using like PRP, and I was taking dutasteride, and what else was I doing? Yeah, just the PRP and the dutasteride.
And that LED helmet you wear.
Well, no, I was using red light before, mm-hmm. but I was using just red light therapy and not laser diodes. So I got a laser diode cap, and I got off the dutasteride because I know I'm not a mm-hmm. big fan of finasteride and dutasteride DHT blockers. So I was like, I don't want to take this systemically anymore. So I discontinued the use of it, and I went to GHKCU topical foam, mm-hmm. and it also has minoxidil in it, and maybe like I think it has melatonin and maybe some caffeine. All have their different components of activity on the scalp. But I've been using that with the laser diode, and I'm telling you, I mean, I could lean down, but you wouldn't know.
And your hair does look fluffier.
My hair is way better, and my hair. The guy I get my hair cut with, he's been doing my hair for 12, 15 years, and he's like, "This is amazing."
Yeah.
He says it every single time now that I go, and he's like, it's getting better. And I'm going to document this and show photos because that's a huge thing. It's the GHKCU. And then of course, I am using a DHT blocker, but just topically. Mm-hmm. So maybe coming off of the systemic and moving to a topical for a short period of time, and then you can go back to the injectable.
That's a good idea. Yeah. I need to definitely have our clinical team look at that for her. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. So what I love about the hyperbaric chamber is one, we have, what is it can we say medical grade?
Yeah, we have a medical grade hyperbaric chamber.
Yeah, we have a
Yes.
medical grade hyperbaric chamber, which
Hard shell.
hard shell.
Well,
And
some people don't know that. Yes, to be medical grade, it has to be hard shell and it has to go to a certain ATA, right? Which
yeah.
ours does.
And what does it go to, 2.4?
2.4. I mean, we only go in our clinic to 2.2, but it
Yeah.
can go to 2.4.
So oxygen. So you're introducing oxygen and you're flooding the blood with oxygen, higher levels of it. It's getting into tissues and it's able to heal because oxygen is what gives life to tissue essentially, right? So my back.
Well, and the pressurization.
Yeah.
It's the combination because when you're in a pressurized environment, it opens up your blood vessels. So more oxygen that's being flooded into you gets into your actual bloodstream.
Yes. And so that I think the hyperbaric chamber is the most underrated tool that we have in our practice. And so my back, just personally, I do a dive a week, which means I do a session a week. And I think I only go for maybe, it's less than 60 minutes from the time, to ramp up, ramp down. And I've noticed a huge difference in my back to the point where I don't have the numbness anymore. And, I know nerves take a long time to heal. So there probably also is the fact that like over time I'm healing. But I do think the hyperbaric chamber has had a significant effect on my healing capacity and nerve pain. And not only that, I think there's some research out now too on hyperbaric improving hair quality.
Well, of course, yeah. The collagen synthesis and the anti-aging benefits of it, of course, yeah, for sure. Well, so okay, I'm claustrophobic, so I can't do the hyperbaric, and I know like it's a completely irrational fear.
I don't think it's irrational at all. I think a lot of people have it, but I think our hyperbaric chamber kind of it eliminates that.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, it's a big. It's anything. Like if these doors were locked and I'm in a huge room right now, like if I started thinking about it, it's like a super rush. So, anyways, I don't do that. But so red light bed is what I do instead, and that is unbelievably amazing. Skin, hair, yeah, that's great, but that's like not even the main reason. How it makes me feel. I literally, yes, it like energizes your cells. I feel like my cells are energized when I get out of there. So like if I do a session, so I'll do it around like 4:35 right before I leave to go get my daughter, and then I have so much more energy to do bedtime routine and cook dinner and all of that if I do red light. If I don't do it, I'm telling you, like I start shutting down, like my brain starts like going offline and I don't feel as good. So I am such a believer in red light therapy, like true red light therapy. And ours is like the number one red light bed in the world, has all these patents, and you can tell the difference significantly with it.
Yeah, and also a little combination with methylene blue. When I take a little methylene blue with it, I mean, I think it causes, I don't know, more of an energetic effect. The mitochondria is getting more powered, right?
So
you
I
also
listen.
have had pain changes too because of the infrared, the near infrared, and the red light with menstrual.
Yeah, for sure.
Less pain.
Less pain. So yeah, during that time of the month, if I do red light therapy, then I don't have cramps like at all, basically. I cannot tell you the mechanism or why that, I mean, probably just because it's overall like helping the body to function better, but anti-inflammatory properties. But I do put it on the chronic pain setting. So cramps are pain. So I think that it has something to do with that. But so methylene blue. Okay, so I was just listening to a podcast on this with an expert talking about. So with methylene blue and red light, it is super effective, but because methylene blue basically is like if the pathways are shut down, if there's a blockage, then methylene blue is excellent because it helps get through that blockage, like a roadblock basically. But if you don't have those blockages, too much methylene blue can actually cause a disruption in like mitochondrial flow and energy and all of that. So, you know, we do testing, lab testing and everything, where we can actually test to see like what the levels are that you're starting at and if you actually need that. But you just have to, that's something that, well, according to the podcast I was listening to, which, but it said that you should, definitely be testing before you're using. And we do super low dose though, but if you're doing like higher doses, like a really like strict therapeutic dose, then you should be like testing before, because if you don't actually have any blockages with the pathways, I don't remember exactly what he was saying, but it can cause like a disruption in your system
Yeah, I mean,
and make your mitochondria, it disrupts that, makes it not produce
Yeah.
and give as much energy. So
yeah, it can become a little.
I think
bit-
that's higher dosage though. And then he said instead you should use
blue algae.
no, it was and he was like, it's actually unrelated, but it has like some of the same benefits. I can't remember now.
I think the safer form is a blue algae, which can do similar effects, but it's not as profound. But yeah, no, I think the red light is, lucky for us, we have a plastic surgeon in our office who is excellent. And, I don't know how many of her patients are using it, but I know people all over the world are, they're having plastic surgery. And so you're talking about wound healing. I mean, it's so effective for wound healing. And there's so many times where you'll have scars that, are a little bit painful. Maybe there's a little bit of keloid formation, meaning, extra scar tissue. And so red light therapy for that, I think, is a no-brainer.
Yeah. And what I like to do, so our bed is the Prism Light Pod. It has 6 different settings. So what I like to do is change between each of them, because it'll feel warmer, like and like it's penetrating more with like the chronic pain one, and with the one for like joints. I forget the exact names of those settings, and then the skin and the hair setting, it's much milder. Like you don't feel it penetrating as much. And so you can tell that like the settings actually are legit, because you can feel the difference between them. And so it makes sense that the skin one would be more superficial because it's just going right under, and that the chronic pain would be deeper. But I think that alternating between those different settings gives you the best of like all of the worlds, rather than just doing the same setting every single time.
Biocharger. So the reason why the biocharger is actually even in the practice is I went to this place, and I think it's the largest wellness resort in the Southeast, and it's
Probably not talk about our competitors.
I'm not going to say the name of them, but
We are the largest. Well,
no, I know it's the largest. Meaning it's the largest. Like it's a huge facility. But regardless, I went in there and I did the biocharger, and yeah, I was on vacation, so maybe my parasympathetic nervous system was a little bit more activated, which means that I was a little bit more susceptible to that rest and digest and relaxing. But I used the spa relaxation setting in there. And so, what is the biocharger? Well, it's a combination of a bunch of different things, but, energetically, it's going to influence your body. I fell asleep in the first 3 minutes and passed out until that thing turned off.
and you have a hard time sleeping.
That was back when I had a really, really hard time sleeping. I was blown away that this thing could do that just by sitting next to it, is the influence it had on my body. And so that's the reason why we have it in our practice. And it really does. I mean, you think about it, this whole world is energetic in a sense. And the influence of that machine, it is so powerful on a cellular level, on a charge level, that it can change the full state of which you're in.
You know what? Okay, so one of our team members, she wears a lot of hats, and she always has like a lot going on and a lot of people coming to her for things, and is super busy. And so her like secret is, when she like just needs like a 15-minute break, she'll go in the biocharger room and then turn on the massage in that chair and then put it on the spa setting, and it helps to like reset her brain and like regulate her, she said.
Yeah.
She was like, if I feel like super overwhelmed, or if I'm gonna have like a panic attack, and I found this out because I was looking for her and I was like, where is she? I could not find her. And I like opened the door and she's just like in there, like with the biocharger on. I was like, what are you doing? She's like, this is my like secret getaway when I'm like feeling overwhelmed. And so I've started doing that too. Or I'll like go and lay in the red light bed and listen to my business podcast. But that's one great thing about our clinic is like we have so many like really quick like vacation spa getaways, and it's just like 15 minutes and it just like resets you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like if you ever need a break, you know, people say like go and walk outside, whatever, which is great too. Sunlight is great, obviously, but just quick biocharger session, quick PEMF session, quick red light session, you know, a long lunch break in hyperbaric chamber. And it just, you feel like you've slept 8 hours and you just woke up and now you're ready to go again.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I guess that's the beauty behind tech now is that it's changing the game because we live in such a fast-paced world and we're so busy and we're so stressed that this technology is now kind of allowing us to break through and restore ourselves. So also with the biocharger too is you
restore ourselves and restore ourselves.
yeah, that was good.
That's a new slogan.
So another thing is you could turn it the opposite direction too. Instead of a relaxation, you can be energized by it. So almost like a stimulatory effect. And I've done that too with just the PEMF itself. And yeah, in the mornings just to get a little bit more energy. It's not like it lasts forever, but it's just that kind of waking your cells up kind of thing.
Oh, that makes me want to go get in the red light bed right now. But you know what I'll also do, because you like insist on keeping it so cold in the clinic, I'm always freezing. So I'll like go and lay in the red light bed because it's like being in a warm bath. It warms me up. It literally warms my cells up so I don't feel like I'm freezing the rest
All
of
you
the
have to do is
day.
go in the hyperbaric room and
I
it's
know.
137 degrees in there.
I know. It gets super hot in there.
Super hot. Big
Yeah.
piece of machine. But
Not in the actual hyperbaric, just like in the
Yeah.
room.
right.
Yeah.
So another thing too is testing. So testing for me has been a game changer. The access, that's the thing that I think most people don't, or maybe we haven't shown the value of testing. It could be elective because I don't really feel like testing should be so elective. Meaning, yeah, no, we test for a lot of things, especially when we're regulating hormones and overall, you know, the picture of the body so that we can restore it. But I'm saying the deeper testing. So when it comes to, you know, Vibrant Wellness has this, you know, full tox test. And I did one for mycotoxins and, you know, mycotoxins being like molds, etc.
Through us, though, right?
Yeah, through us,
Yeah.
Vibrant Wellness, which is the lab that we sent it to. That test came back, and I had crazy, a heavy load of mycotoxins. So fungus, which could be food related, it could be in my house, and so you know, overgrowth of these certain types of virulent or unhealthy forms of the fungus can wreck your body.
You need glutathione.
Right.
You need a detox.
Right. And so that's what I did, which,
Yeah.
you know, we've kind of discussed that before, but we even have somebody on our own team who was exposed to heavy
Yeah.
doses of black mold to the point where it was so disruptive that she was losing her hair.
Yep.
I could even tell because I've been around her for a long period of time and worked with her. There was a dysregulation in her mood.
Yeah.
She definitely had neuroinflammation. And so looking to see what kind of exposure you have, because you don't really know unless you do the testing. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. Yes, it's expensive, but once you have that information, now you can start to look to see where is the source? Where is it coming from? What things can I change? And we can also help facilitate that. Like, okay, another one was plastics. So I had extremely high levels of plastics in my body, BPAs. So where am I getting that from? Is it from, you know, food industry? Was I warming? I mean, I used to do these things, which are kind of crazy, is warming up plastic stuff in a microwave. Like think about even
you say it's
foods.
crazy, but most Americans, that's exactly what we do.
Yeah.
You know? Did you know that the average American consumes the size of a credit card in plastics every year?
Right. And how do you get those out of your body? I mean, that's the
You
question,
come
right?
to us.
Yeah, you come to us, and so you've got to open up your ability for lymphatic drainage, and it even goes to even outside of our practice. What other things can you do? You need to be in the sauna. I mean, if you look at countries where sauna is a routine part of their life,
Add 7 years to their life.
yeah, these people are healthier, they live longer, and so you've it's not just what we can prescribe and give you. It's kind of the things that you can go find and utilize on a daily basis that you should be doing.
Well, and I think one of the greatest benefits of our the massive amount of lab testing that we can do is that you can, order these lab tests with these companies online, but then how do you interpret it? So we have this, I mean, most people aren't going to be able to interpret what all of this means and what you need because of it. So, I mean, we have a diagnostic AI software system that evaluates and analyzes every single test and part of your blood work. So, where you are optimal, suboptimal, subpar, like where you are, and then it'll say, okay, you need vitamin D3K2, you need this peptide, you need this, and it'll literally match with your blood work. And then I'll show you, like, okay, prioritize this first, then address this, then this. And so it's an excellent resource, and that kind of valuable information, which it's not just, here's your lab work, okay, good luck, what am I supposed to do with this? But and even like when you go like for a yearly physical, they'll be like, oh yeah, well, this is a little low, but we'll just monitor it, watch it. But like, what does that mean to you? That's not valuable information. You can't turn that into knowledge. But our diagnostic software system, it turns the information into actual knowledge that can be applied and then change lives. And you can completely change your life, know exactly what kind of nutraceuticals that you need, supplements you need, nootropics that you need, peptides that you need, hormones that you need. Everything will be told to you and matched according to where you are suboptimal in your lab work. And that is priceless. I mean, that is next level. We've never seen that before. Like, this is a new thing that we have systems that are able to do that. So that's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, no, it's AI driven. It's AI driven in that data, like it collects all of these markers and is able to determine, okay, this is the dysfunction, right? And then you're right. We have, with our team and our protocols, we have resources, and we will show you step by step through a full treatment plan that's phased out, that's digestible, how to resolve all of those dysfunctions. But I think that most of these companies that are doing this that you were talking about, the at-home testing, I won't say their names, but what they'll do is they'll just give you some, food changes, maybe some lifestyle things, and then it's just nutraceuticals. It's not going to be, hormones. It's not going to be peptides. And that's the difference between us and these other places that you can go. And they may be cheap, and they may have these memberships that you can do, but it's not robust at all.
And it doesn't phase it either. So it doesn't tell you, like, okay, this is the primary thing that you need to address and work on right now, and then this is secondary, and then this is what we'll work on last. It's just like, here's everything, like throw everything at you, and do it all or do some of it, we don't know, and you don't even know what to start with. And it feels very overwhelming. Like, I always talk about this in a business marketing standpoint, but it can be the same thing with clinical treatment plans, but decision fatigue. It's like, if you're given too much information all at once, that's what we're here for, is to organize that information, give you a digestible plan, where to start, where we're going, where we're going to finish, and where we're going to be for maintenance. And decision fatigue is we live in a world of information overload. There's so much information out there. You don't know what to trust. You don't know what's right. You don't know what's fake or mal information. And so you have to really take responsibility for going to a place that is able to digest and organize that information for you and say, okay, especially when you're talking about your health. You have to go somewhere where they're going to say, this is what this means. You understand, but you don't have to worry about it. Don't worry about having to self-treat. We are going to show you the best plan that's going to get you the best results in the healthiest, most effective and efficient way. And that is what is so vital in our unique selling proposition, our USP, as we always say, is that we take away the self-treating mode that everyone's in nowadays with, oh, I saw this influencer, this TikToker, this chat GPT doctor, all of this, and I have so much information, so I'm just not going to do anything, or I'm going to do everything and I'm going to do it wrong. I'm going to cycle it inappropriately, incorrectly. It's going to cause harm. All of these, I mean, how many of those patients do we treat that tried first to self-treat with, ordering things online, all of that? But that's where we come in, to organize it and make it to where you don't have to think about anything. This is our job. We'll handle it from here. We have the information we need. Now, here's your plan.
Yeah, I know. And I also think that the testing is it's like an exciting time too, especially with longevity, because, there's all these conversations around it. And we do have a lot of patients that come into the practice, and that tends to be kind of their primary focus. And that's great. I think that's usually towards the latter aspect of what we're going to help you with.
Yeah.
Because we've got to optimize everything on the front end. But let's just say we get to that point, because it is kind of the shiny object that everyone wants to focus on. There is epigenetic testing. I mean, where we can get down to the genetic level and see, do you have certain things? Like for me, I had always struggled with like light sensitivity in the morning. I'd always had a fair amount of inflammation, but it was related to my methylation pathways. Mm-hmm. And once I found out that I had MTHFR and COMT, I was better able to adjust. And then that led me down the path of, okay, well, I need to get the proper methylation, right? Mm-hmm. So once I had that methylation pathway supplemented properly, and not everything that you see is accurate and true, and you've got to be, it's a delicate area that a medical provider needs to be helping you with. But when I started doing that, it mitigated a lot of those symptoms. But unless I had done that genetic testing to see that and then introduce the right medications, prescriptions, I don't know if I ever would have gotten there.
But think about how overwhelming that would have been to get those results and not have the knowledge base that you have, and just feel completely lost. Like, now what do I do with this? Where do I go? And trying to do your own research and figure it out yourself, and not knowing what to trust. That's how many of our patients feel when they come to us and they've tried to self-treat, but they have no idea where to even start. And they shouldn't have to be responsible for that. That's our responsibility, to help them and to treat them so that they don't have to try to figure out, is this right? Is this wrong? Is this harmful? Is this not effective? Imagine how overwhelming it would have been if you didn't have your knowledge base and gotten all of that information with all those results. And the flight is now landing. Please return your seats to the upright position. We will be landing at balance in 3 minutes. It's like a Delta thing.
Well, I hope that you guys all enjoyed all the information today, and we'll be back for another session here pretty soon. Balanced conversations tend to be kind of unbalanced, if you will, but we'll see you next time.
Have a balanced day.